Good evening, Terps. Thank you for joining us tonight from wherever you are in the world. My name is Jessica Roberts, and I am the Senior Executive Director of your Alumni Association. I'm so glad you could join us for this program to learn more about the future of our beloved Terp athletes in partnership with Maryland Athletics. This event is part of your Alumni Association's commitment to lifelong learning, a way to connect to Terps across generations with opportunities to grow, stay curious, and live lives of meaning and impact. Today, we hope you're curious about the future of Maryland athletics. We know many of you have burning questions about the changing landscape and how it affects our student athletes, you as alums and fans, and our larger community. This is your opportunity to hear the answers straight from the source. We're joined by two incredible members of the Terp community to guide us through this conversation. First, Terp legend Steve Suter, class of 2004, Maryland football letter winner and color analyst for the Maryland Sports Radio Network. Many of you know him as one of the most electrifying players in program history, holding records in punt return yards and return touchdowns. And we're honored to welcome Jim Smith, Maryland's new Barry P. Gossett Director of Athletics. Jim brings decades of leadership in both college and professional sports, most recently as Senior Vice President of Business Strategy for the Atlanta Braves. Now he is leading Maryland athletics fearlessly forward into this new era. Before I pass the proverbial mic, I just wanted to say that I've had the opportunity to talk with Jim a few times now, and I'm excited to see his vision for athletics come to life. I recently went to Terpsville before a football game with my family. It was a blast and such a great reminder of how our community comes together to support our Terps. I hope you leave today's program with that same spirit and some fresh inspiration to come home to campus this fall. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Steve.
Thanks, Jessica. And first, I just want to thank you and the alumni team for reaching out to me and asking me to be a part of this. I know Jim and I have had a couple conversations since he's been hired. This will obviously be the most formal one that we've had together, but I'm happy to be here. So again, thank you for that. Then I want to thank all those attending the call, especially specifically the alumni. And I know you've sent some questions in previously to join the webinar here today. We'll pluck some of those out while I go through my questions with Jim. So really thankful for the opportunity to be here. And with that, I'm going to jump right in with Jim. And Jim, I'm going to start you off with a question that I asked you when you were live with us at halftime, Johnny and I, during one of the games. And I wanted to ask you again because I thought your answer was really good. And I wanted more of Terpsville to hear this from you. And so it goes like this. There's a lot of job openings for ADs around the country and the job descriptions, but you weren't necessarily putting your hat in that ring. So what was it about Maryland and that job description for this AD position that made you want to get your hat in the ring?
Oh, well, thanks, Steve. Great to be with all of our alumni, wherever you may be. It's an honor to be your athletic director. And Steve, you're going to have to fact check me because I don't remember what I told you then. But so
Let's
hopefully
see.
it'll be
Let's
close.
see.
Hopefully it'll be close to what we talked about. But this is really an incredible opportunity. I wasn't looking for a new job. I had an outstanding position with a great organization in Atlanta with the Atlanta Braves. And I got a call about the opportunity here from a search firm about the opportunity here at Maryland. And once you started doing the research on the University of Maryland, from an academic perspective, you're like, oh, check the box. It's absolutely one of the best public institutions in the country. When you look at it athletically and you start really researching the programs, you find an enormous number of programs with consistent success. And then you see real opportunity. And then you're part of the Big Ten. You're part of I always say it's the Big Ten is the room where it happens in college athletics right now. It's the most, I believe it's the strongest conference. And when you can combine all those things and really see a growth opportunity for Maryland athletics, it becomes something that's really appealing. And then I got into the process a little bit. And I realized the other thing that you don't know when you're reading a job description and doing your own research is we have a president that's really supportive of collegiate athletics, and that really matters. So all those things say, hey, this is a great opportunity. And I really wanted to see if this was a good fit for me. And I think the committee felt like this was a good opportunity for both of us. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be on a campus where people are committed to athletics, that we have great coaches, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about kind of the broad-based great coaches we have, great sports programs. And now it's just an opportunity to give them a little bit more resources and see how far up we can take this program together.
Absolutely. That'll probably transition us in here to the next question because you're closing in on about 3 months here on the job. So what would you say your early takeaways are from being here for 3 months? What are your early impressions? What are your secondary impressions? Overall thoughts?
Well, I think one great thing all of Terpsville should know is that we have a group of coaches that have definitely been outperforming what they've had to work with. It's really spectacular to work with coaches who are very talented, who have had success, continued success, consistent success, even though they may not have been resourced at the top of the Big Ten or like other Big Ten institutions. And then the thing that mattered to me that came through the most was these coaches that are here want to be at Maryland. This isn't a stepping stone to go somewhere else. And I think that really matters. I think consistency matters over time. And when you can keep a staff and a group of coaches together for a long period of time, you can have continued success. So their commitment was something I was really, I shouldn't have been surprised, but it was really comforting to know that they want to be here at Maryland. And then when you look at the group in the athletic department themselves, the staff that's here, they are Terp. There are a lot of Terps. We've added a new Terp, Joe LeBou, into the athletic department mix as a deputy athletic director. So we're really making sure, and then we added Diana Sabo, who's not a Terp but has great athletic experience, that this group can really bring great momentum and great success to the department. And then the last thing has been really I shouldn't have been surprised, but how welcoming the Terp community has been, and the Maryland community. Everyone, they've been very welcoming. I think they share my excitement for where the department can go, and they've been great. The whole campus has been great. So the transition has been really nice, especially for a guy who came to Maryland not knowing too many people.
Yeah, that's evident, right? Your point about the coaches makes a lot of sense, and it'd be naive to think, and for Terpsville and all of the fan base to think all the great coaches that have been at Maryland for so long haven't had other opportunities. People have been calling and knocking on their door for years now. We see your success. Come try it here, but they've stayed loyal and they stayed loyal to Maryland. So I'm glad you got to see that right away and feel the passion of those coaches. And we can talk about them and their character. So I'm going to ask you that this might be the hardest question I ask you tonight because you're going to have to talk about yourself. Describe yourself as a leader and maybe your leadership philosophies that we can expect to see, and then how you plan to apply those into the college athletics atmosphere.
Yeah, so I think it sounds like a really simple question, right? But
I know.
you really have to lead in many different ways. When you have 19 type A personalities who want to win and are extremely competitive, everybody needs to be led in a little different way. But you kind of set some guardrails and some guardrails for everyone. One, we're going to operate with integrity and have high expectations for success, right? So and by bringing a collaborative leadership skill set, I want to be a partner with each of our teams to create that success. So I'd say I'm a very collaborative leader. I make quick decisions. It doesn't take very long. I start from the position of yes, and then work towards, oh, we may have to look at that later down the road. But it really changes a mindset of what you can accomplish when you're collaborative, when you want to see everyone be successful, and then when you start from the position of, yes, we can do this. And you have to believe that we can do this, because I already believe we can do this.
I'm going to hold you to that. He always says yes.
Start it yes, Steve. Start it yes.
That's all right. So let's talk about the changing landscape of sports in college. It's been shaken up over the last couple of years. You know, I'm not a rocket science to break the ice there, but how do you plan on getting up to speed with the legal changes and legislative developments that are going on in college football? And what do you think you can utilize Maryland and make it their overall strategy to approach these things?
Well, I think so. The getting up to speed piece is like constant, because it's
Okay.
changing on a regular basis. Everyone we don't have a clear set of rules for how NIL is going to work, so everybody's trying to figure it out and not put themselves in jeopardy, right? So it's a constant. I used to say, hey, Rubik's Cube would have, I think, I don't know, 6 sides. This one's got about 18 or 19. So every time you turn it one way, something else happens, and trying to get perfection is just not something we're going to get in the short term. So we've got to continue to operate in the best way we possibly can to find the resources, to allocate our rev share dollars out appropriately, to get additional resources through NIL for our coaches so they can be as competitive as possible in the Big Ten. And doing that really is probably the number one priority. And the honest answer to, hey, how do we settle all this? The House settlement, it was a start, but we really need some legislation out of Congress in order to kind of solidify a set of rules that are laws in this country that won't go to that athletes or representatives won't be going to court all the time to change a rule that gets put in place only to see it change 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months later.
We should have some lobbyists on the call. Maybe they can help us out with that.
You know what? There's a lot of people working, and I think genuinely people want a solution, right? And
Yeah.
working for a perfect solution right now isn't going to happen. I think, in my humble opinion, we just need to make some progress and continue
Mm,
to evolve over time. But right now, we're not making a whole heck of a lot of progress.
understood. Let me pick the business side of your brain because I would imagine that was one of the main reasons or deciding factor in Maryland hiring you. So you had time at the Braves and you were focusing on innovative solutions there, business-wise, marketing strategies, communication strategies, fan engagement strategies. What are these things, these business strategies that you took from the professional level that you think you can incorporate at the college level now that college is almost a professional sport now? Is there any similarities and key differences and maybe an example or two that you could give us?
Yeah, so two things. I was at the Braves, but I also was at the Falcons. And the Falcons, at the time, there were two very different organizations. There was an NFL team, new owner that had been around a long time, that was towards the bottom of the league in just about every category. And contrast that with the Braves, where I was, where they were at the top of the league. So I had two very different experiences, but though I always harken back to the Falcons days and the growth journey that we went on to get the Falcons from 30 in the 30s up to where they are now, which is like fourth or fifth in the league, and it starts with a fan experience, right? And the Braves fan experience is outstanding. So growing a fan experience and then adding on to a fan experience that is already great are two things I've done. And being able to combine both of those here, because we are not at the bottom, but we're not at the top either. But it does start with creating a very good driveway to driveway fan experience. It's not something that's done in a day or a week or a month. It takes time to build over time. So we need to put ourselves in our customer's shoes as much as we possibly can to know what it feels like to come to an event, whether it's at CQ, Xfinity, Ludwig, that you're coming, our field hockey complex, anywhere on our campus, and you're attending a game from the moment you leave your house to the moment you go home. What is that journey like?
Mhm,
And if we start really starting to fix the little things along the way, people have a great experience and they keep coming back,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And that
mhm.
is the goal, is to get them to continue to come back. And then the revenue grows from there. This isn't just a
Okay.
magic wand that all of a sudden, hey, we're going to magically fill the building and we're going to have tens of millions of more dollars for the athletics department. It takes
Hmm.
a process, it takes time, and it
Hmm.
takes a strategy to implement and a belief that you can do it. And it starts from the kind of driveway to driveway experience. And then the second half on the revenue side really comes from managing your inventory correctly, pricing it correctly based on supply and demand. I mean, sometimes people think sports is I believe sports is no different than a regular business. It's all built on supply and demand. And so when
Okay.
demand goes up, that's a great thing because you can then probably increase prices a little bit. But when
Hmm.
demand is low, we've got to really focus on the fan experience and making sure that we're getting people out to our game on a regular basis. So just two really simple high level thoughts that
Hmm.
you'd kind of take from both the Falcons and the Braves experience.
Well, if I could dive down a little bit on that, I like the talk of driveway to driveway. I mean, are you thinking as granular as convenience, communication with authorities on Route 1 to make it easier to get in and out, and maybe parking on I-93? And I'm using football as a specific example here. I mean, are you thinking of those things to make it more convenient to park, easier to get to, and using the whole environment around Maryland as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of it. And you know what's been great in my 3 weeks here? They've been willing to listen and understand that, hey, everyone you see, whether you're working for the state, the county, College Park, or UMPD, your CSC, everyone is part of that experience. And so we've talked to all of those folks to let them know, hey, safety comes first. There's absolutely no question about that. But just like at Disney, the show's really important and they're part of the show. They're part of the fan experience when they come here. So we need to move traffic along as safely as possible, but there also need to be willing participants in the show of the fan experience for each of our people. And I think we'll get there over time, but I'm not sure that they've ever been really asked to be part of the show part of it. And knowing and having worked with many municipalities in the past in coordinating efforts, again, it doesn't happen in weeks. It happens over time. Because you have to be consistent in following up on it and trying to make improvements. You make small improvements every time. But Steve, even more as important as that is, it's finding a way to give you your journey. When I say your journey, your Waze route from your home here
Mhm.
be the most efficient way. And that's one of the things that the pro sports teams, I think, do really well. I don't know if they do them here in Baltimore, but it's one of the things that, we map out where people come from and give them the best route to get here rather than letting everybody try to figure it out on their own.
Hmm.
Sometimes it works. Well, most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's just a part of that experience that we have to create here over time.
What would you say the difference is if we're staying with the professional and collegiate comparison here? How about just how the revenues generated? You've been in the professional scene, now you're at Maryland. Is the revenue generated the same way?
So it's the same buckets, but done differently, right? There's in the college space, there's a lot more outsourcing that goes on, and there's a benefit to the outsource. You don't have the overhead, you get a guaranteed payment, but then you lose control of it, right? And so the pro sports model has a little bit more of, hey, I would rather have an employee of the team out representing us rather than a third party that's out representing us. That's just how the pro sports model works. Here in college, it's different, and I'm going to have to readjust to having third parties. It may be it probably is the right answer. It's been done here for such a long time, but it's one of those big things. And the second piece is the big difference is there's not large ticket sales teams at the college level. So it seems like an easy fix that we can increase attendance by increasing some of our staffing and using artificial AI. There's a lot of AI tools that help from a fan journey standpoint, but also from a ticket sales perspective. And that these colleges, we need to start doing. I don't know if the college space is doing it, but we definitely need to do it.
So you spoke about the long term, right? Some of these projects are long term. So take us on an outlook now, just more of a long term trajectory of Marin Athletics and what you see in the future. Maybe anything specific that you might not see the fruits of your labor now, but a specific, project or task that you are looking to implement sooner, but it's going to take us on the path for a long term better future.
Yeah, so Steve, I'll say I'm the steward for the Maryland Athletic Department. So everything I hope we do builds for future success that I may not see. Right there, because so many of these things take some time. I recognize that, but we put the fundamental pieces in place. This is all about Maryland athletics being successful for a very long period of time. But a project
Hmm.
that you look at in just from an outsider's perspective, coming in and being on the job 2.5 months, you look at our football stadium and you say, hey, it's a great football stadium, but it doesn't have the modern amenities that football stadiums today and even college stadiums now today have. And so we've got to look at that, and that process takes time to pull. So I would likely venture to say, hey, if we're ever going to renovate, we're going to start that here sometime soon. Soon's all relative, but it's going to take
Hmm.
quite a while to see it come to fruition. But if we put a really solid plan in place, it doesn't matter who's the athletic director. The end result is going to be exceptional.
Hmm.
Hey, Steve,
I
let me
like
let me
that.
ask you a question.
Yeah,
What
go for it.
what is it like working with Johnny Holiday? I need to stop talking. I need to hear from you what it's really like to work for Johnny Holiday.
The guy's a legend. If I could only pray that I am being able to do what he's doing at the level that he's doing it, at the age he is, it's amazing. He's been nothing but gracious towards me. I'll tell you a quick story, and this is when they first contacted me to talk about being his partner on the radio. And he was all about it, but some of it was just text. We were texting back and forth, and I was having then some contract conversations. And then once that was settled, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, Johnny, should we go out to lunch and you give me some pointers, some do's and don'ts?" And he just texted back and said, "Nah, just show up. You'll be fine." And that was it. Show up on Saturday, and it really was smooth. And it's all because of his professionalism. What I admire about him the most from a technical radio's perspective is his just how easy coming in and out of breaks is for him. When the broadcast starts, he describes the day and the experience, and it's just natural. And then when you got to cut to commercial, it's just fluid. So as somebody trying to get in the media market now, and those are the things that I appreciate the most. It's just effortless. I know he's been doing it a long time, but he's been doing it at a high level. And he's just as genuine as you would think he is. Just a great person. Invites me to dinner every away game that we go to. I don't always go because sometimes I'm checking out the local bar scene, and he's not about that. But just a great dude. That's the best compliment I can give
He
you.
really seems like it, and he's been so gracious to me in my
Yeah.
start here. He's one of those really special people, and you say legend, and he really is
Yeah.
a legend. So I always
And he's
wonder what.
got power. He's
Yeah.
got power, so stay on his good side.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's
So,
great. That's great.
uh,
Thanks for the question to me. Now I'll jump
yeah.
back in. Let's shake things up and talk about, let's go into the student athlete changing environment from all types of areas, right? You have athlete activism, you have conference realignment that affects things, you have escalated costs, media rights, all these things you're trying to juggle. Now I'm going to ask this follow-up question. It may not even pertain to that, but what do you think, and if those things are involved, maybe the biggest fears or biggest risks that Maryland athletics face in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, so I'll answer it a little bit differently in that the primary responsibility of our athletics department is continue to create an incredible environment for our student athletes to get a degree and to compete. And so much of our conversation, especially in the athletics world, focuses on rev share and NIL. And the reality is a fraction of the overall student athletes are receiving those payments, and they're here to compete in their sport at the absolute highest level. They want great coaches, great facilities, great support from our fans, from our administration, from our alumni, and they want to get a great degree from the University of Maryland. And that fundamentally does not change. Now we'll have guys who will be one and done, right? And they're wonderful people, and we wish them well while they're here, and we hope they come back to finish their degree. But that is truly the reality of where we are from a student athlete perspective. And then the challenges that we're going to face over the next 5 to 10 years. Sure, there are all those things that you mentioned, conference realignment. How are we going to do all this fiscally? And be fiscally responsible, all while being extremely competitive in all 20 of our sports, right? I've said I've said this to the staff, the coaching staff. I've said it to everybody here in the department. We're going to be an and organization. We're going to find a way to win in football and field hockey. We're going to win in soccer and lacrosse. We're going to win in both basketballs. We're going to win in wrestling and gymnastics. There is a way to do that and be fiscally responsible, and we're going to figure that out here. That is a long-term commitment that the university is making to our Olympic sport programs, while being competitive in football and men's and women's basketball. So I really do believe that there's a pathway there. We're working on it, and even in short order, we've started that path, putting that plan in place. And I think if you were to ask our coaches here, they can sense the change for what we're trying to accomplish in winning and being competitive in all our sports.
Let's take it there. Let's just jump into the NIL. It's, taking over college athletics. I'm sure you have daily conversations about it with all of your constituents there in Maryland. Everybody wants a piece. They want to know how you're going to handle it. So I'll open the floor to you. Just an NIL as a broad topic. Take it away.
So NIL is continues to change in what it was to what it is today. I'd say if you were to ask most people in college athletics last year, NIL was just pay for play. It was people paying athletes. I think today, with the House settlement and how this works, there needs to be a valid business purpose for why there's a transaction between a company and a student athlete. And that opens the door for all student athletes to be able to have endorsement opportunities. And it becomes a competitive either advantage or disadvantage for athletic departments to have a pool, to have a partnership, and to have partners who are willing to work with our student athletes to create good, valid commercial reasons to support both the program and our student athletes. So that in a real nutshell is what it is. How much that's going to be, how much money that's going to require, it's liar's poker out there. No one really knows. Everybody's giving a number and no one really knows whether it's true or not. And so
Right.
We're all trying to do the best we can within our own environments for the best interest of our student athletes.
So this is a time I'll chime in with our first question that was sent in. This comes from Paul, class of 93. And it's right around this topic, so it's perfect time to ask it. And this will be a little bit more specific, but he says, understanding the 20 and $1 million cap on revenue sharing payouts is separate from the third-party NIL deals. How will University of Maryland leverage corporate relationships to connect athletes with third-party NIL deals?
So we have I mentioned having third-party partners. We have a third-party partner whose job is to focus specifically on that, to find corporate partners who are interested in supporting student athletes, and then marrying them together in a program that's valuable for both sides. So we have a third party out there representing us now, doing that, and they've been successful. We definitely need our corporate community to step up and help us as we continue to get better and better in these sports, so we can retain our talent. So it's in place now, but it has to grow. It is one of those things that we know we have to grow in and get better at. So we're committed to doing that. And then it goes, and I go back to it can be a big deal or it could be a small deal. There's nothing that is too big or too small for us to be able to execute and work within what the corporation wants to accomplish and align them with a student athlete that can help them accomplish that.
I'll
Hey,
jump in
Steve,
with another.
how
Yeah.
much would you get in an NIL right now? What would your NIL look like?
I don't know, but I'm really upset that I'm not in a position to find that out. I'll tell you that. The house I'm sitting in would be a little different, I think. But I like to think we laid the groundwork for this. I've always been pro player. I've never been shy about this. So I'm always pro player. I was a pro player when I was at Maryland. And I say pro player from the standpoint of I saw how it wasn't fair, right? Fair for coaches that recruited you. And a lot of the times the kids choose a school because of a coach. And then boom, that coach is gone. Maybe right after that season. So it just felt like there was an injustice happening to the kids. I don't want to, talk about first world problems here. Like we had it out, we had it bad, right? I had a free education, all that was great, but it just seemed like it just wasn't level. So I've always been pro player. I'm glad that this started happening, but I agree with you. Back to your earlier point, maybe there needs to be some legislation so it's just all somewhat equal. But we'll see. It's going to shake out how it shakes out. And
Yeah, I think we all want
question to ask.
a set of rules that we all can play by, a
Hmm.
fair set of rules that are even. And then, let it come down to, hey, how good are we at doing NIL for our student athletes? But until
Right.
those rules get really even and the loopholes get taken out of it, it can be very challenging at times.
So Brian from class of 55 said this could plays right into it because now this is the other side of the coin. How will you protect the non-revenue and Olympic sports in this era of NIL?
Yeah, and I think we talked a little bit about that. I think we
Hmm.
are 100% committed to our Olympic sports here at the University of Maryland, and that is a credit to how many successful Olympic sports we have here, right? So we will have NIL, we will have NIL for Olympic sport athletes, as well as we'll have NIL for our revenue generating sports. So it's going to exist. There will be no diminishment. That goes back to the and piece. We're
Hmm.
going to be competitive in all our sports, Olympic sports and revenue generating sports.
I like that. Can you tag that slogan? We're an and university. I like
Yeah. Well,
that.
we're definitely an athletics department for sure.
Okay. Yes. I'm going to keep that in mind. All right. Let's jump to another question. Carla from 96 wants to know, what is your plan? I mean, I know you spoke about the fan experience, but I think she wants to get a little bit more specific. But what is your plan to bring more students and media attention to women's basketball and all other women's sports? And as a girl dad, I'd like to hear your answer on this too.
Yeah. So girl dad, three girls. They're grown now. So I've been down this path for sure. Been to thousands of girls games throughout my life. Women's sports is incredibly important for for all of us at Maryland. We continue to see the success of women's sports in the professional ranks in women's basketball, in volleyball, in soccer. It's a natural to invest in from a college standpoint. And so
Mhm.
specifically, what we're looking at is picking, obviously picking the key games that we can maximize attendance at and really putting the effort behind that. And then over time we'll grow to every game. And that's true really in all our sports is to figure out where you can maximize because we want to make sure we have a series of games that are full
Mhm.
stadiums for all our sports. So that's part of the strategy. The other part of it is I came from a sport that had 81 home games. And so you need a plan when you have a lot of home games. It's
Mhm.
a little bit different thinking, and it's something we'll get to in the next after this year. But really, kind of laying out all 81 games and not have to worry about having to pick and choose certain games, but really be able to
Mhm.
focus on, hey, the calendar. How does the calendar lay out? how do we support these events? How do we grow at all these events? And so the specific thing about students at these events is creating an environment for students to be themselves at the game. Steve, you saw our first 3 home football games. The
Yeah.
student turnout early was really good. The response is really good. We have to keep reminding them that they're an important part. Students are an incredibly important part of the energy of any of our athletic programs. And so, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna no. Finish that out.
So what our job is to promote on campus, to make sure the students know that they can come to these events, that they're needed at these events, and that it's free for them to come to these events, and that we have seats for them in good locations. And that's the other piece that we have to continue to focus on, is put the students in the place that create the best energy and the best home field advantage for our teams to compete in. I said this to the student athletes before. The student athletes know when the students are there. They can feel the energy. So I need the student athletes to do their part as well, and going out and thanking the students and encouraging the students while they're on campus to come out and watch them participate.
Is it safe to say that you have specific plans in mind to increase the student attendance or keep it at the level it's at, or to get any better?
No, it's a constant conversation in the building on how we continue to grow. And the other thing we want is the students to stay a little longer, right? And so, but if you were watching the Wisconsin game, you saw right after jump around in the fourth quarter, see you later. They left.
See you later.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's not so sometimes we think, oh, this is only a problem at Maryland. No, this is a problem in college athletics. And you can say, for whatever reason, people leave early. The games are too long, whatever. They're not entertaining enough. We're not doing our job. Well, we're going to do our part here going forward. We're thinking about it every day. We're thinking about it for football. We're thinking about it for men's basketball, women's basketball, soccer. Soccer, they stay the whole time. You know why? 2 hours on the nose.
That's right.
The game doesn't stop. There aren't long TV timeouts. So maybe there's something in kind of the fundamental format that doesn't keep the students as engaged as, someone like my age.
Let's go. Another question from Ivan. You've answered this a little bit when you were talking about the football, but he's asking, class of 85, Ivan, what are your plans for renovating and improving other athletic facilities to help attract the recruits and fans?
Yeah,
And
so
I would say we already have JHH, Jones Hills House, which is an excellent state-of-the-art facility. So Ivan, if you haven't seen that, you should come back on campus and check that place out.
Yeah, and we have the Barry P. Gossett Basketball Performance Center now, right? So we have some great venues for our teams to practice in. But from a fan perspective, from a competition perspective, I think, like we mentioned, we talked a little bit about football. We need to kind of have some long range planning about how we enhance our football seating experiences. We need to look at soccer. The facility is a little older now. It's getting a little worn down. We've got to look at how we can improve our soccer facility. So if you were to ask me what's next on the docket, I'd probably tell you that we need to look at soccer and track as as an opportunity to look at a new venue that can elevate those programs even further than they've already been. So I think those are the. Xfinity is a great basketball venue. You're going to see some new enhancements when you come this year from a club seating standpoint. I think that's a real positive step in the right direction. So, and that's for both men's and women's basketball. It's also be available for volleyball and gymnastics when they're competing in Xfinity. So I feel good about our main competition places. I think we can just continue to do some enhancements in some other places.
You've had the opportunity to be at Ohio State and see a very large alumni association there. What, if any, obvious takeaways that you think you could implement or utilize or solve flaws when you got to Maryland that maybe weren't taking place at Ohio State, or ways to remedy that? I mean, it's no secret they're a very successful college, both academically and athletically, so it'd be foolish not to bring some of those strategies to Maryland. So are there any that come to mind, or you're waiting to implement?
Well, I think there are plenty that come to mind. It all comes down to kind of the prioritization of resources. But I give you one that I think we did really well when I was at Ohio State the second or third time, whichever time I was there, was when we implemented the engagement center. And the engagement center was really before AI had hit it off, but its whole purpose was to connect with alumni that haven't been connected with, that didn't really have any kind of um, long-lasting engagement with the university, because we all kind of keep track of who's engaged and what they're interested in. But there were a lot of I'll just say call them lapsed alumni. And so that's part of what we have to do in athletics is look at all those folks that have been part of the family at some point in time that aren't a part of them now, and how do we create a journey for them to get back in? It's not an immediate ask for something, but it's
Mhm.
an immediate way to connect with them. That could be email, it can be done all through AI, an AI journey. Could be email, could be text, could be a phone call, there's a webinar like this is another way. Just the many ways to connect with alumni and bring them back into the fold so they know what's going on, and just make them feel valued. It's such an easy, simple concept, but it's really hard to execute at scale. And so that's part of what we have to do is we have to execute at scale.
Let's lighten it up a little bit. What's your favorite place to eat since you've been around Maryland?
Ooh, my favorite place to eat. Oh, well, Goldmark's because it's close and it's fantastic.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
Kirby makes me go there like 3 days a week. So and that's an easy one. We're in we're sure we have a place in Bethesda. There's a place there we really like.
Okay.
So those are a couple of the places.
When are you gonna check off best crab cake in Maryland? Because I know it's a big debate on where you go. Have you had any yet?
Oh yes,
Like
yeah.
the real ones.
So, I definitely have it in Annapolis. I'm trying to think of the restaurant in
Okay,
Annapolis.
Annapolis.
We were at.
Michael's or my favorite, I'll say my favorite's G&M. It's just outside the Beltway in Baltimore. So maybe I'll take you there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah,
That sounds really good.
we'll
Yeah,
do
no,
that. So
the food scene here is fantastic. So,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. We need to get a vendor, a crab cake vendor on campus, unless there already is one and I'm missing it.
Well, there's you're working and you press guys don't pay for food anyway. So, but we do have a crab pretzel. So.
Oh yeah, no, I do know that. Lamont gets that all the time, brings it up to the booth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So there you go.
yeah.
So that
That
we
looks
have
like if I ate that,
at the stadium.
that would put me down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Whew, that was heavy. Well, Jim, this has been great, man. I don't really have much more to get in depth with you. I really just want to thank you for your time. I want to really speak to all the listeners out there right now and echo a lot of things you said, but it is people driven. All of the things that you're talking about and the fan experience and how we can elevate the program. It's the people listening that play a big part in that. And if you've felt slighted in the past, like Jim talked about, or you've just not been as supportive as before, and I'm not talking from a dollar perspective, just from an attendance perspective, I encourage you to come to an event, whichever sport you choose to do so. And if you have a friend that you know or an ex-alumni, well, I shouldn't say ex, you're always an alumni that hasn't been to an event, then I encourage you to bring them. And then you never know, you could just snowball and start attendance, and all those things go hand in hand. So that's my personal ploy as a alumni myself, because I think Maryland's right now in a really, really cool spot, and we're in a position now. I think with Jim, I love his business mindset. And I think it's important to have that mindset in the position that you're in, Jim. And I think there's a chance for Maryland to take advantage of all these changing legislation and rules and really come out of it on top if it's handled correctly. So I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm excited about the hire from Jim. And then Jim, I'll give you one compliment, probably the best one I can do. I haven't seen your implementation of your plans yet and what's going to take place, and I'm, very positive that all of that's going to work out beneficially. But I will say this, and my conversations with you, you've been authentic and you've been genuine, and those are just my real feelings towards you. So I really appreciate that. I can tell that it's come from a good place, and that's the best way to start when you're starting a new position. You want this place to be successful. I feel that. I think everybody that you've encountered feels that you've done a lot of this media trips. I see you all talking to everybody you can talk to. So I appreciate you doing that and putting yourself out there for everybody and being honest. And with that,
Hey, Steve, one thing before you say the final two words.
go for it.
So one, thank you for that. I mean, it is who I am. It's not going to change. So I genuinely appreciate the kind words about that. So that it really matters. And when people ask me, hey, how can they help, right? How can they? It's really pretty simple. I ask people to believe in the University of Maryland, to believe in the coaches that we have here, that we can be successful in the upper end of the Big Ten. I have the great benefit of being new. So I don't know anything in the past, and it means that the past negativity, whatever it may be, whatever it may have been in the past, doesn't mean anything to me. I see the future, and it is and looks fantastic. So I'd ask our alumni, hey, if you can listen to Steve and the legendary Johnny Holiday on a broadcast when they're doing, listen to them while you're watching it on TV. Come and attend an event, any of the events. These student athletes deserve our support. I'm not just talking about football and men's and women's basketball. I'm talking about soccer and lacrosse and field hockey and all gymnastics and wrestling and volleyball, all of them. And I would encourage you to come out because you know what? They really notice when people are there. It matters to them and it makes them proud. It makes them play a little harder. It matters. And we're 19-1-1 at home right now. 19-1-1 at home. So defending our house matters, and it would be great to do it in front of more fans and alumni. And the last piece is, if you can, we'd love for you to donate and help these student athletes to be as the absolute best they possibly can be. So with that, I'll turn it back to you. I've really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed the opportunity. I really respect everything that you and Johnny and have done for the program before me, and I'll just try to be a great steward for our athletic department going forward.
Thanks, Jim. And I will say, just from having the experience, what you're mentioning, the favorite part of the game for me was running out straight to the student section before the game started. Couldn't wait for that moment. So the more people is there, those games are impactful. I still remember, I get chills thinking about it. Packed houses, and that's with every sport. You go to basketball, you go to soccer, women's basketball. Packed houses, they're fun, and they'll last a lifetime. So thanks again, Jim.
Thank
And
you.
with that, go Terps.
Terps.